Neil, first up, team news. How are you shaping up this weekend?
Yeah, we've no real major problems from the other night, so we select from the same group.
How pleasing was that result coming as it did off the back of the two previous ones, and certainly in context of getting away from the bottom there?
Well, I mean, the whole city was one that we were really disappointed in. I think QPR really we got what we deserved really in that area. Once they'd scored the goal. But I think all credit to the boys for going to a very tough place like Millwall. We only had 2 days and took it on the change system, etc. And it was really good. I really enjoyed watching them, and it's good to get the result when you play well as well.
Yeah, going to a place like Millwall, notoriously difficult, and in the context of the battle that you're facing, how much does that tell you about the character and spirit you've got in this group?
Well, it shows that we just have to become more consistent. I'm only just been here a few weeks, and it's just knowing your players, really. Knowing, there's quite a few I don't really know what they're going to do the following day. It's trying to get the consistency from all of them. And during that game, including the subs, I thought they were really consistent in the performance. What I know they can play like, really.
Pleasing that you saw both Britta and Ashley Fletcher get on the score sheet as well, because they'd been in and out under Jonathan Woodgate before.
Yeah, I think it's great for a manager when you see two strikers score. I love that. I don't think it's happened for a long time. It's one of those things you hope can happen. And the contribution, Ashley not just scored the penalty, but contribution for the first goal. And Brit's really been working ever so hard for the team. So I can't praise them too enough.
What are your thoughts about the points total if you set one that it'll take? Because obviously it's complicated with what's going on at Wigan, and talk about what may happen with Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, traditionally 49, 50 points has been the benchmark. Is that still the case in your eyes?
I think it's a lot closer than it's ever been in my memory. Anyhow, I mean, usually you say 50 points is the safety net. But I don't think anybody, including you guys, can actually, even looking into one of them golden balls or whatever you call them, I don't think anybody can really predict what's going to happen, the numbers that you're going to need. You just don't know really. We're all anticipating everybody's going to win and everybody's going to do this. I mean, who would have thought we'd have beat Millwall away? I think that would have upset a few bookies bets, I think.
The good thing is that it's very much in your own hands now on the back of that result, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it always has been. It's just, even when we were in the bottom three, it was still down to us. It was just so disappointing to, the Hull result in particular, because it gave Hull a massive boost, really, when we didn't deserve to lose. I mean, a draw, I would have been disappointed, but to get nothing was almost criminal in my eyes. So, but, these disappointments and bitter blows, you have to take on the chin, and you have to get on with. The next day you've got to forget about it and get on with it, and we've done that on a training ground, in fairness to them.
What about Bristol City then? Because they've been on a fairly ordinary run. They part company with Lee Johnson, and then it's the old thing in football, isn't it? You bring someone else in, even if it's only a temporary basis, and suddenly you get a win.
Well, they've got a good group of players. I mean, one thing that Lee's had down at Bristol is similar to Middlesbrough, really. They've got a chairman who loves the club, who wants to do well for the area, and they've spent a lot of money on the squad. They've got a very good squad of players when you look at the names that's in the squad and the money that they've spent. So we know how talented they are, but we've just got to make sure we're fighting for our lives, and we've got to get something out of the game. And quite simply, I'm hoping that the lads have the same attitude and we get the same rub of the green.
I know you haven't had an awful lot of time between games, but even in that one performance the other night, have you seen a change in the way they approach that game compared to what they've been doing under Lee?
Well, I mean, Kevin and Ron told me before the game it was the best warm-up they'd ever seen, the attitude and everything, the desire in the warm-up, and that's what's got to continue. You start your game in the preparations, not just when the whistle goes. So I'm hoping that they're all ready for the kick-off on Saturday and can put in a similar performance. But
are you surprised?
I said, but there again, I don't really know. I can't really be in my own mind, know what they're going to do at one after another. From QPR to Millwall is like chalk and cheese.
On Bristol City, Neil, are you surprised that they did go through that patch?
Well, I mean, everybody has these runs, really, and it's I mean, they've been on quite a few runs like that over the years that Leeds been there, but they've persevered with Lee, and he's always bounced back. So I think sometimes you can be too long at a club, and you do need a change. I think players need a new voice, etc. So it was probably the right time for both parties, really. I think Lee will get another job and will have learnt an awful lot from that. And Bristol have got a new voice for the squad. They've really got a good squad of players. I think I would say it's in the top 6 regarding the squad-wise in the league.
Just a couple of other things away from this weekend's game from me, Neil. First of all, at Millwall, certainly on the pictures we saw, the players didn't take a knee. Was that a conscious decision, or can you give us some background to that?
No, I'm not prepared to talk about that. The lads decided between themselves, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's up to them.
The second thing is, obviously, you spent some time at Leeds United. It looks like they're nailed on to get promoted, turning in a great performance last night. What are your thoughts on where that club's now heading?
Well, I do hope that Leeds and West Brom go up, if I'm honest. I mean, Leeds has been a fabulous club, the facilities and everything else. And they have had the breakdowns when they looked so confident over the last few years. They've hit a brick wall. So I think last night was a vital game. I think they can relax a little bit now and try and get over the line that way. Like I say, before lockdown, I thought they were the best 2 teams. And I hope, I don't want it to knock them away. I think they deserve to be in the top flight next year. And then, it'll be interesting to see, who accompanies them.
Certainly will. Best of luck this weekend, Neil.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Neil. Said something about the relentless nature of the Championship, that your opponents, Bristol City, they've been on this not great run. They've changed their manager. Yet looking at the table, they could still get in the playoffs with 4 games to go. It's a long shot, but it says something about the Championship, doesn't it? That there's almost never a dead game.
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, when it first came on board, the playoffs, I just felt it just made it more exciting, because really there's only usually 1 or 2 teams that's not involved in something, or mathematically. And this season seems the same. Nobody really wants to. My old club Cardiff seemed to have grasped that spot, but nobody really seems to want to keep it. It's one by one they've all fallen by the wayside, and now some of them are regrouping and trying to make a meal of it. But it'll be interesting who gets the 6th position, because I think the other 3 are more or less nailed on now.
How important was it for you to see the nature of that performance the other day, to sort of for them to tell you that they want to get out of this?
Well, I think they need directing, really, and I think that they appreciated how organised we were, really, which gives them a lift. They've got some good players, but all players need that little bit of confidence. When you're fighting at that end of the table, it's a different pressure than it is at the top. And some lads take it a little bit more differently, but I thought everyone to a man the other night stood up to be counted, and I think you could see that. You might not have seen it after the game, but the things that were said on the pitch after the game was super, really, between us all. And the lads want to do it. We owe it to the Middlesbrough fans that are sat at home and can't really get any frustration out. I think they saw after the QPR game, everybody was doom and gloom, and quite rightly so. But life's too short. You've got to get on with it and get some points on board.
I mean, you've said yourself a couple of times just in the last few minutes, you're not sure what you might get from one match to the next. Consistency is obviously what every football club is looking for, but would you say that's obviously been the big problem here this season, just not being able to have any consistency?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Usually in my teams, I probably know what 9 or 10 of my lads are going to do every week. At the moment, I probably know 2 or 3. It's when you don't know your lads, when you've only had a few weeks with them, you try and assess its situation and do the best you can. We've not really had a lot of time to look into the mental side of the lads, and how people cope with this type of pressure. But in a successful side, I personally usually know what, like I say, 9 or 10 of my lads are going to do. But it is what it is, and we've got to. There were quite a few pluses the other night, and hopefully, if everybody's okay this morning, it's not much of a respite from that game to this one, and we hope that everybody's available.
Finally, for me, difficult the situation you came in because you can't meet a lot of people. You've not really been able to interact with the fans, but from what you've seen and from your conversations with Steve Gibson, I presume you get an idea of how fundamentally important it is for the football club that you do get over this bump and survive.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that. I mean, I've told it's all right talking about if we go down, we might come straight back and things like that. That's rubbish. We don't want to go down. Don't even think about it because you can't think of the consequences when you look at the big clubs that are in that division, that have been in that division a few years. You haven't got time. You've just got to, we've got to scrap and make sure we don't have that decision. Because everything's geared here for success. I've never seen facilities like it, mate. If anything, the lads are too comfortable. They've got everything. Apart from carpet slippers in the dressing room, in case the feet get mucky. I can't think of anything else they could give them.
Thanks, Neil.
Okay. Who else?
Mark. Hi, Neil.
Yes.
Morning, Neil.
Hey,
Mark from the BBC. Good to see you. Is this? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, sorry, Mark. I've got Joe Nicholson underneath your name.
Oh, fair enough.
Now, right, go on.
I'm on a different machine, so I hope everything's all right. Just looking back at those two games, the agony of the last-minute defeat, the QPR game, big disappointment. But is that where your experience as a manager comes into play when you've got to lift players for the final run-in after two big disappointments?
Well, I mean, you look at, I look at it. We played 4 games and won 2. That's 50% win. So I don't look at the negatives. I think, wow, that's good. If I can keep 50% up, I'll be quite happy.
And obviously, they did seem to sort of enjoy the two strikers, the wing backs. They seemed to kind of quite enjoy that formation.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. I think that's the thing, and we looked solid in that. And I'm not afraid to use that system. It's just sometimes I don't think you can get away with that against certain teams.
Psychologically, how important is it just to keep? Obviously, you want to be out of the bottom 3 at the end of the season, but just to be out of the bottom 3, does that just sort of help take a little bit of the pressure off? Well,
looking at the league table, I had a look to see how many we were from the playoffs. It's that is how silly the league table is, isn't it? When you look at, it's that's how close it is. So many teams sucked in with one win, you're sort of 6th from the bottom. It's ridiculous. But it just shows you how you've got to fight for every point. You try and win the game, and if you don't win it, you don't lose it. You've got to tick on with the points tally at this stage of the season and not get too disappointed and get on with the next game as soon as you finish the last one.
And as Simon said, there's no real dead rubbers at this stage of the season. I mean, Bristol City could still just about do it, so it'll probably be their last hurrah at the Riverside, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they've already realised that it's going to be highly unlikely this year. I think they're already planning for next season, really, for a big push, because they've not really had a big push. They look like they're a little bit like Leeds, but probably not as good as Leeds. They've always, almost got there and then just run away at the end. So I think they'll be. I think the owner down there is a very good man as well, Lansdowne, and I think he'll be gearing it up for success next year.
Now that you've all had a lot more practice of behind closed doors matches, are you seeing some players who kind of thrive on the crowd not being there and those who kind of miss the crowd to feed off? And does that kind of influence your team selection in any way?
No, not at all. No. I must admit I was quite pleased that the ground was empty at Millwall. If I'm totally honest, that didn't bother me in the slightest.
Just a few cardboard cutouts. Finally, the Wigan situation, I suppose there's no point being distracted by that. What will be, but they're playing probably well enough to finish more than 12 points clear of the drop zone anyway.
I think so. Ronnie Jepson knows Paul very well, and they talk, 2 or 3 times a week, and they still think the fixtures they've got, when you look at the fixtures, they're all winnable, and that they can get out of that bottom 3 anyhow between now and the end of the season, even with 12-point deduction. That he thinks they're playing that well, so. Good luck to them. But we've got to make sure we, even with that deduction, we finish above them as well as others.